first of all, and then I'll open it up to committee. Councillor William Baldwin.
Thank you, Chair. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I think so. I can.
Right. Thank you, Chair. I'm extremely concerned about the Planning Department's decision to support this application. I'm even more concerned that the Highway Department have also supported it. So I'll just go through a few points of concern with you regarding the proposals. At the last committee, we discussed the extension to Barker's Lane School, and I was totally gobsmacked when the highway officer told the committee that she hadn't even visited the site to assess the existing traffic safety issues outside the school. How is it possible to provide an accurate assessment of traffic safety issues without visiting the site? So the first question I would like answered tonight is, has the highway officer actually been to the site to assess existing highway conditions? If she has been to the site, can she please tell the committee where parents currently park their vehicles at school drop-off and pick-up times? Can she also tell us where the existing staff park during the school day? If she hasn't been to the site, then I would suggest that in the interest of transparency, the application is deferred until such time that she has checked out the existing traffic safety issues. The first task of the transport statement should be to assess current car parking and traffic issues. The transport statement submitted with the application ignores the issues completely. Although the statement is approximately 450 pages long, it doesn't mention any of the existing parking and traffic issues. This shortage of information was actually raised as a concern in the Highway Officer's first response dated 6th of November 2020, which stated on page 2, paragraph 3 of the memo I've sent you all, that there does not appear to be a review of existing parking problems at the site to suitably address what level of increased parking provision will be required. This important highway issue raised in their response does not, for some reason, appear in today's committee report. Now, I seem to recall 2 years ago that the planning department was severely reprimanded by the leader of the council for leaving out important highway comments that could have a bearing on the outcome of the application. So can the planning officer please explain to the committee why they have resorted once again to picking and choosing which highway comments they put in the committee report? There still remains no information on public record about the existing parking provision issues. So I find it strange that the highway officer is now in position to support the application. Can she please tell the committee what information is seen to satisfy her initial concerns about parking? The transport statement basically plays down any existing car parking issues by simply ignoring them altogether. Just as with Barker's Lane application, the transport statement underplays the traffic generation impact of the new proposal. It assumes that because there are 30% of school children currently walking to Boris schools, that the same percentage will be replicated by the introduction of a brand new Welsh school. This is blatantly wrong because the Welsh school will attract pupils from all over Wrexham, and it is highly unlikely that there will be a cluster of 30% living in the immediate vicinity of Boris who will want to attend the school. This exact issue was picked up in the first highway response drafted on 6th of November when the highway officer stated that the general school catchment area for a Welsh school is larger than for an English school. So there would be a higher natural usage of motorised vehicles bringing children to school. Surprisingly, this important highway statement does not for some reason appear in today's committee report. Why is the planning report so selective in what it is allowing the public and committee to see? Even though the figures are clearly underplayed and highway report raised concerns, the highway officers now, it seems, accepted that the transport statement is accurate. In the highway response dated 6th of November, concerns were raised over traffic generation. Page 3, paragraph 4 states, Boris Park Road is particularly busy during school hours, and the road would not benefit from any significant increase in vehicular movements. Of significant concern are the roughly 200 additional vehicles arriving at school each day. Can I ask the highway officer what information she received that made these quite specific traffic generation concerns vanish into the ether? The transport statement states that only 79 new vehicles will arrive on Boris Park Road as a result of a new school being developed. Obviously, that figure can't be relied upon as the figures have once again been manipulated downwards, as I've already described. Although the transport statement says...
William, can you just stop there a minute, please? I'm a bit concerned about you saying figures have been manipulated. I mean, unless you've got clear evidence of that, you're almost casting aspersions on the integrity of the officers.
Chair, I'm about to say that now.
you're allowed to be factual, but you're not allowed
Yes,
to make assumptions.
although the transport statement says 79 new vehicles, the transport statement says this, Chair, 79 new vehicles will be attracted to the site. It goes on to summarise the final impact of the scheme after travel bans have been implemented. Now, this next paragraph I'm going to read as a work of absolute genius. Page 53 of the transport statement, paragraph 917.11, states that overall, with mitigation measures in place, it is forecast that the development proposals could result in a reduced on-street parking demand. I'll just read that again in case you didn't catch it. It is forecast that the development proposal could result in a reduced on-street parking demand. So we are going to build a new school, and not only there's not going to be any requirement for any additional parking, but the new school is actually going to reduce on-street parking, just to lighten the mood, say. So how's that for magic? Perhaps the new school should be called Hogwarts, because clearly there is some wizardry and magic going on. If a new school can actually reduce existing parking problems, maybe we'll see the pupils playing Quidditch above the school playing fields. Perhaps in secret discussions with the highway officer, the transport consultants have agreed to build platform 9 3/4 on Boris Park Road, and the Hogwarts Express will bring all the pupils to the school. Are we seriously expected to believe that a new school will reduce parking demand? At the last two meetings about Barks Lane, the planning officer specifically told committee that every school has its own traffic and parking issues. These are still available for repeated viewing should you want to view them on the council website. So can the planning officer explain to us how a new school can reduce existing parking issues when he's already told us that every school brings parking problems? If the planning officer tells the committee it's because they're going to have a travel plan, that I would just remind him and the committee that Boris School already has a travel plan which hasn't resolved existing parking problems. Moving on, Chair, the high response of 6 November.
You've had 8 minutes now. Can you wind up, please?
Yeah, I'm finishing off now, Chair.
And then I'll bring the legal officer in.
You want to bring him in now?
No,
finish.
you finish unless it's on a, but as long as you're brief.
Okay, that objections to the no plan reading. The transport statement makes reference to the LDP. A traffic model was submitted within the LDP, which predicted that the 1,500 dwelling development at the Golf Club roundabout would generate an additional 393 extra vehicles on Boris Park Road during the morning peak hour, representing a 13% increase in traffic. Add to that the 200 new vehicles from the school site, that is nearly 600 vehicles on Boris Park Road in the morning peak. Does the highway officer who expressed traffic generation concerns on the first response think this is acceptable? Has any capacity study been undertaken to understand the issues that this will doubtless bring? Finally, be pleased to hear there is currently a doctor surgeon on site, which according to the report has only 3 car parking spaces as part of the lease. Now that may be all the case legally, but are we seriously suggesting that anyone going to the doctors will have to walk from the side streets? What about those affected with mobility issues? Are the council trying to close the surgery down by stealth? In conclusion, Chair, there are extending queries raised by the highways themselves, which have still not been addressed. They may have been addressed in private discussion between planning office and highways, and unless things are made public, then the public remain in the dark and remain seriously suspicious of the planning department's modus operandi. It's Dr.
I'm going to stop you there now, William, because you've gone way over time. So,
well, you're missing the point, Chair, again.
Well, I mean, if you'd stuck to Boris Park and
Chair, I am actually written to the Welsh Planning Office about.
I'm sorry, you're not allowed to carry on this.
Thank you.
I'm bringing in the legal officer and then David Williams to respond, and then I've got 3 committee members: David Bithell, Dana Davis, and Gwenvire Jones. So, Hugh, did you want to come in next?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the member has his concerns, but I would like to quote from the code of conduct, paragraph 6.1. You must not conduct in a manner which could reasonably be regarded as being your office or authority into disrepute. And I would state that percentage of what Councillor Baldwin has just stated, some of the language could be viewed as being in contravention of that paragraph. So I would advise the member and any member who holds such opinions to refrain from doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh.
Mr. Chair, I couldn't hear what he was saying then.
It was breaking up a bit, Hugh. I don't know whether you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll repeat myself. I appreciate the member has his concerns, but I'm quoting now from the Code of Conduct, the paragraph 6.1a. You must not conduct yourself in any manner which could reasonably be regarded as bringing your office or authority into disrepute. And it would be my summation that some of the language used by Councillor Baldwin does not accord with that paragraph. And I would advise the member and any member who holds such thoughts and sentiments to refrain from doing so in such a manner. Thank you.
Okay. David, do you want to comment at this stage, or shall I bring in committee members and you'll come in at the end?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just really to go back now to something that Claudia's just touched on, and I do find it quite unacceptable, really. And I do take on board that we are in the middle of a pandemic, and we have been for the past 11 months. However, the current guidance states that you are allowed to go out and do your job. And I would suggest that the highways officer, by not going out and looking at the road, isn't or hasn't done her job. And I would like to see her going out and doing it. I know what she's saying about the pandemic.
Can I just clarify that?
Current guidelines are that you are able to go out and do your job. And from what I've heard this afternoon, you've admitted that you haven't been out and viewed the road. And I would suggest before a decision is made that we have that information and that you go out, inspect it and do your job. Thank you, Chair.
Beverly, I think that tone is unacceptable, quite frankly. I mean, this is getting quite ridiculous now. The way members are speaking to officers, whether they're employed by the authority or not, is not on. I mean, how would you like people speaking to you like that? We don't do it to each other, and therefore it should be the same. There are other ways that these can be looked at. I'm not saying that they shouldn't go out, and I would prefer that. I would prefer someone to go out and see it. But there are other ways. There's Google Earth. There's all sorts of ways in which people can look at these things online. But Claudia, did you want to come back in just to comment? I don't like to leave you hanging on.
I was just going to clarify that my employer, Mott MacDonald, does not allow us to travel at the moment. Okay. So although I would agree in a perfect world, I would love to have been and visited the site myself and in person, but I'm happy to go with the information that's been supplied to me by other local officers of what they see and know.
I think that's something we
and the transport assessment.
I'm not going to widen the debate on this particular issue, but I think it is something we need to take up with the chief officer in terms of going forward. Beverly, do you want to come back briefly?
Yeah, okay. So I thank Claudia for that and for the clarification. And perhaps, with hindsight, that clarification should have been made earlier in the discussions. That Claudia is, I'm assuming now, because you're talking about an employer, so I'm assuming that you're contracted as a consultant. But it would have been nice to have had that information made clear at the start of the meeting that Claudia is a consultant. Your employer isn't Wrexham County Borough Council, so your employer doesn't allow you to go out and do site visits. So I take on board that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Beverly. Gwenvire and then Darren.
Yeah, I was just going to second Paul Pemberton's motion, really, but I was also going to ask Beverly whether she would apologise to the lady from Highways, because I think the way she spoke to her was from her and not from the rest of the committee, and I think it went too far.
Okay, well, we are getting to those stages, aren't we, unfortunately?
I do think she should apologise on screen, please.
Well, it's a matter for the member, Gwenvire. I can't enforce it. I can't make it, but there we
are. Come in, Chair.
Debbie, Beverly.
Okay, thanks, Gwenvire. Thanks for that. Yeah, if you think an apology is warranted, then I'm more than happy to apologise to Claudia. As I said, perhaps you didn't quite grasp what I was saying, Gwenvire, was when I did come back and Claudia had actually clarified that she was a consultant, not actually employed by Wrexham County Borough Council. I wasn't aware of that. I thought that she was employed by the council, not a consultant. So her employer isn't the council, it is the consultant. And after she's clarified that, I did say, that's fine, I do understand. But perhaps you didn't quite hear that. But yeah, I do apologise, Claudia, if I do get passionate. Sometimes my passions overtake what shall I say, my emotions. So I do apologise. I didn't mean to come over as being aggressive to you.
Okay, thanks,
No,
Beverly.
it's fine.